Hey everybody, Resident Loser Jeremy here. The last video I talked about what else you can do to kind of help support your scene, given now that shows are really hard to come by, but content still has to be put out, artists still have to connect. I talked about how I'm filming video, and I want to talk about how you can do that on a budget. Let me start this off and say I am not a pro videographer. This is something that is a hobby for me, honestly. I got into it taking pictures of my kids. I had a camera given to me as a gift a long time ago, and I always liked it. I always enjoyed doing it, but the technology came a long way in a very short amount of time, and now we have technology that's pretty crazy right in our own pockets most of the time, and you'd be surprised what you can get away with and what looks very, very professional. So had a band come in who wanted to make an EP and also film so they could put things onto YouTube. Just another way to connect to an audience in a time where there's really no way to have a live show. Even regardless when shows are plentiful, this is also a really good way to kind of stack your EPK, because more content is good, right? As long as it's good content, obviously. My general setup for video, if we want to first talk about the gear, which I really don't think matters, let's talk about the gear. So I'm shooting Canon. I've always liked Canon. I don't have much of a collection. I have one camera. That camera is an EOS R. I'm shooting with a couple different lenses depending on the situation. I'll have a Sigma 18-35 that I love. I love that lens. The only downside there is that's built for like an APS-C style camera. That means it's a crop sensor. It's smaller than a full frame sensor, which you can use with a full frame, so you're not going to get as much light into the camera. Your 18 millimeters is actually like somewhere around 24, 25, 26, whatever. I can do the math. I have a little handle so I can kind of keep things steady. I have the Deity, what is this? I have the Deity D3 microphone that just kind of picks up the ambient stuff in the room, which makes syncing the video later much simpler. If you don't have a super nice camera, if you don't have an EOS R, if you don't have any of that, you already have a very nice camera, whether you know it or not. Hang on. This is my iPhone 11 Pro. If you're an Apple fanboy or not, it's hard to disagree that the camera on this is pretty good. We can get into the weeds about what camera on what phone is best. I don't think it matters. The best one is the one you have with you. So this is what we're talking about. I mentioned in the past video about doing this that you don't really need a nice camera. You can use one of those $60 gimbals. Well, guess what? Here we've got one. This is a Zhiyun. I don't even see a model number on here, to be honest, and it really doesn't matter because I bought this like 4 years ago, but it still works great. So that said, with a gimbal like this, you don't need the best one, but once you get something like relatively, oh, it's the smooth cube right there. Hey, there you go. So there have been a ton of iterations after this one, but when you turn it on, now I've got a very smooth way to film video with an iPhone, which, like it or not, it's a pretty decent camera. So Karen, you can use this with any phone. You don't need an iPhone. This could be any Android you have with a camera, but this kind of helps you get into smooth footage, and that's pretty much the key. And you can find gimbals like this from anywhere to $60 to $100. A lot of them have interesting features. I think this one has a lot of features that I don't use. All I'm using it for is the fact that it is stabilized. I shot a lot of the first videos that I did here in the studio with something like this, so it can absolutely be done. You just have to kind of get in there and learn, and I'm still learning regardless of the setup. So if you're gonna get into doing something like this, this is a very good start. A lot of videos and a lot of YouTube stuff is filmed on these now, and these are cameras we have with us all the time, so don't discount that fact. So let's talk about the rundown then. In this situation, let's go into the control room, and maybe I can talk through what happens in this process. Here we go. Okay, so here we are in the control room. Now, there's a few things to think about to make your life easier when you're doing a video as far as like a live recording studio shoot. You can do this the expensive way, and you can do this kind of the cheap way. The expensive way would be having a staff of people and multiple cameras going at the same time, and you're actually filming what's happening in real time. My clients don't have the budget for that. And with everything and wanting to kind of play everything safe, I don't want to cram 20 people here in the studio, so it's really just me and the band. So I have them go through all of their songs 2 or 3 times live. So they're playing it, we're recording it in real time, we're doing little to no punching, if at all possible. And these guys, they didn't do any kind of punching at all. Once the band has gone through the songs 3 or 4 times, we pick the best one, and that's the one that we're going to make the video with. Now, while we're recording, we don't know which one's going to be the good one. So all of these have to start the same way. I start them off with a click count in. They're not recording to a click. They're just getting counted into a click. Because if we're doing a 1 take through, it really doesn't matter if they're to a click or not, as long as they're counted in the same way in context of the song. So listen, I have 2 bars of a count off, and then I have the guitar player tap his guitar. 2, 2, 3, 4. And we started all the songs like that. Once we know the take that they want to use, then we can start the process of filming. I like to do that after all the songs are done. So we're not worried about recording. We're not worried about any of this other stuff. We can just kind of film and we're good to go. It's kind of a relaxed position. But what I will literally do, I will come up to Pro Tools and start, and this doesn't have to be Pro Tools. I'm sure there's an option like this in any DAW that you're going to be using, but I hit a count off, which adds 4 bars for me. And I didn't want them to have to record to 6 bars because the 2 bar count in before he's tapping the guitar plus 4 more bars. I just add that when we're going to do this because this gives me time to run in there, get set, and get ready to film. So take a listen with the count off. 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 4, 2, 3, 4. Then it's his 2 bars, tap, and they're good. So they're going to be listening to the take they did, playing and singing along with it so that everything kind of lines up. And then I sync that with all of these other videos in post. So once I've got a sufficient number of angles and I want to make sure I get each person doing whatever they're doing, whether it's the singer singing, the guitar player playing guitar, making sure that I get the hands of the keys player, all that fun stuff. Once that's done, then I'm going to go to actually edit the video, and this can seem extremely daunting. I forced myself to kind of learn Adobe Premiere, Final Cut, and my personal favorite right now, which is DaVinci Resolve. And let me tell you why it's my favorite. Because it's free. It's totally free, and it's super powerful. I didn't find anything that I couldn't do in DaVinci that I could do in Premiere or Final Cut. Actually, quite the opposite. I feel like I can do more in that program and it's completely free, which blows my mind. Premiere is so expensive. Maybe if I were doing like high dollar projects and I knew how to do graphics and all this fun stuff, maybe those programs would be worth it. But for this, for vlogs, for shooting stuff in the studio, DaVinci is fine for me. I can still import and export 4K video, and actually color correction. It's the standard as far as color correction goes anyway. Not that I really know how to color. It is kind of cool to get in there and learn how each of those programs does it differently. So DaVinci Resolve, totally free. Check it out. If you're needing to get into something like this, that's a very easy way to do it. I'll go through my list of shots, each one that I've taken, and I will set an N marker, an end point, IN, not end, N, so that I can go back and make a multicam file from all of those shots. Now, what I do is I line it up with his taps on the guitar. Having the microphone on my camera really helps in that situation because I can hear that on my on-camera audio. Now, once I sync that up to the mix that I've done, I get rid of all that audio, but that's what allows me to sync everything up super easy. So all I do is I wait for him to tap. I know how many bars I need to count before I hear it. I kind of know it, and then I hit I, and that puts the endpoint. Once I do that with all the 5 or 6 angles that I've done, I tell it I want to right click on all of those clips, make a multicam session from these clips, and it does all the rest for me. And then after that, all you have to do is sit there, listen to the music, and then click which angle you want. So once you've done all your prep work and all that stuff is fine, you could literally get this done in the amount of time it takes you to listen to the music video. After that, you add your titles and you're done. There's tons of tutorials on how to do that. I am not that good at that, so go find that somewhere else. But that said, all this can be done with stuff you already have. DaVinci is free. You probably have a phone in your pocket with a pretty decent camera. You can handheld it if you want to, or you can go get one of those $60 to $100 gimbals that'll make all your shots very smooth. Now, there is one thing I will recommend if you are going to be shooting on your iPhone or an Android device, go download something like Filmic Pro. It allows you to kind of get around some of the handicaps, I guess you would say, in the, at least my familiarity is with iPhone, so it allows you to get around some of the limitations that are built into the iPhone camera program itself, and it allows you to shoot at whatever bit depth you want. You could kind of go to extreme settings. You can shoot in 4K. It allows you to pick which lens you're doing. All these are the same. All that said, you have a lot more control in something like Filmic Pro, and it's a lot easier to color. It'll kind of get you that extra oomph out of your phone if that's what you're using, and that's what I did, and it got me some pretty good results. All this stuff is relatively cheap or free to do. I started out offering the service for free just to figure it out and then going from there. So filming bands in your studio is definitely something that you can do. I just want to make this video as a way to say, don't let it scare you as it scared me for a long time. You're going to get better. It's going to take practice. You're going to put out videos that you go back and look at and go, oh boy, maybe that wasn't the best video I could have shot. I could shoot that so much better now, but that's good. That means you're improving. Same with what we do in the studio, in the control room, and we go back and listen to mixes that we've done in the past. You're gonna get better. You're gonna improve. And when you hear things that you're like, oh, it's cringeworthy, that's a good sign because it means you're improving. Take a stab at it. There are so many good filmmakers you can follow to get tips on how to do stuff like this. I do the same. I love following Peter McKinnon, Matty Hapoya. There's all sorts of really, really cool filmmakers on YouTube that just do really cool stuff like this. And when you're looking for inspiration, it can be a really good place to start. So anyway, guys, I hope this gives you some ideas in shooting video in your studio, or even if you're your own artist and you want to shoot your own videos, kind of maybe shed some light on how to do that and not be so worried about the limitations that you have, but just to go and do it. So anyway, guys, Resident Loser Jeremy here. I'll see you in the next one.